today, everyone. Today's fundamental class is on seated twists and core and arm strength. So in the last fundamentals class, I went over recline twists and why being very intentional with your movements in twists is so important to help protect the lower spine if you've ever had injury, and building upon what we learned in last class. I want you to know that if you find seated twists a little compromising on the back, that's because your body has to resist gravity and you have to use a little bit more core strength to help you twist when you're seated. So if you find that this is a bit sore, you can always do your twists laying down on your back. So ever you're in a class, if you're at home and you're listening to a video, please make sure that you modify any poses to suit your body and how it's showing up today. Not trying to show up how it did last week or last month or last year. Really honoring where you are in this time, in this space, which can be really hard. So taking a moment to check in with your body, noticing if you have any sore or tight areas that you might need to modify, to do a little less today, so hopefully you can do more tomorrow, and trying to avoid doing more today and then nothing at all tomorrow. So warming up the spine a little bit here with a seated twist. So you can find a nice easy seat. If you find that this is a bit hard on the knees or on the hips, you can place a pillow underneath your bum to help lift up, or if you need to move the legs out in front of you a little bit more, feel free to do that as well. So starting with more of a gentle twist here, we'll take our right hand, so you can do the little left-right, find your right hand, take your right hand to the outside of that left knee, and the left hand draws behind you, placing the palm as close to your tailbone as you can get it. If your shoulders aren't very flexible, if your back is pretty stiff, you might not get all the way behind you, so just placing it somewhere to the left side or directly behind your tailbone. So inhale, lift your chest up nice and tall, find your core, find your belly, draw your navel in towards your spine, and then twist by engaging your core. Use your belly to actually help twist you here, and then you can use your arms for a little bit of extra leverage. So again, the twist starts from the core, starts from the abdomen, you're using your muscles to twist, and then the hands are secondary. You can push into that right hand to help twist a little bit deeper, squeeze that left shoulder blade towards the spine to open up the shoulder towards the left, looking back over your shoulder behind you if that feels okay in your neck, or you can keep the gaze either forward or to the side. And then switching into the other side, we'll slowly unwind here. Take your left hand to the outside of that right knee and take your right hand behind you. Again, fingertips, maybe palm on the floor, maybe directly behind your tailbone or off to the side here, somewhere where you can somewhat reach. Inhale, lift the chest nice and tall, and exhale, twist, look over that right shoulder. Again, you want to engage the twist, primarily finding those core muscles, finding your obliques, finding those twisting muscles of your abdomen, so that if your hands were taken away, you're still twisting. So if you're using only your arms, try to find that core and help twist a little bit deeper through there. So breathe another breath here, inhaling and exhaling. Inhale. Good, and then exhale, slowly unwind from the twist here. So moving into tabletop, so rolling over the ankles, finding your way to hands and knees. So hands are stacked underneath the shoulders and knees are stacked underneath the hips. So we'll do a few series in the plank series, warming up the core and finding that strength. So starting with knee down plank, from tabletop, walk the knees back, so that you draw yourself into a angled line here. So your knees are supporting you, your arms are supporting you, you're strong through the core, so find not just your belly when I say core, you're also finding your glutes. So your glutes are strong, your navel is drawing in towards the spine, you can have tops of the feet down or you can have knees down here. If you have some wrist issues, you may find that drawing yourself onto your forearms is a bit more comfortable. So to engage your core, make sure that your butt's not sticking way up in the air. You want to have a straight line from your knees to your shoulders as best as you can. We're also not sagging and we're not creating a back bend here by letting the hips fall towards the floor. So I'd actually prefer butt up than hips dipping. Okay, when you hips dip, you're probably putting a lot of pressure on the lower spine. So either we're in this plank pose from shoulders to knees, or we're in a slightly bent position, but our navel is still drawing in towards the spine and we're still strong through the core. And then we'll slowly draw ourselves back up to our palms and then sit back onto the heels. Feeling that activation in the core, something else that you can highlight is, oh, maybe I don't really know how to draw my belly in. So I say that feeling if somebody was about to punch you in the stomach and you're like, and you do that clenching activation, that Valsalva maneuver. So you want to think about engaging through your whole core section here. So your obliques engage, your belly button draws in towards the spine. You're really strong and rooted through your midsection. So maybe if the punch feels aggressive, you can think if someone was coming to tickle you and tickle your stomach, that activation of your entire stomach, your entire muscles around your core, really engaging to help squeeze in. So moving into another variant of plank, we'll take a full plank. So I work as a massage therapist, so my wrists, I need to save them. So you'll notice that my plank, my full plank, I'm actually going to start from my forearms. So elbow stack underneath the shoulders, or you can place your wrists underneath your shoulders as well. And walk the feet back so that you have a 90-degree angle at the elbows, and then your shoulders stacked directly above the elbows. So if you walk the knees too far in, you'll be really pushing yourself forward here. And if you walk too far back, you might find that this is engaging a lot more abdominal muscles. So try to find a nice neutral position here. You can either shift forward and backward and really finding that sweet spot for you. Engage the core. Again, you're drawing the belly button in towards the spine, the glutes are strong, the legs are strong, you're lifting the knees. Maybe you have to put one knee down, maybe you put the other knee down, and then slowly releasing the knees down to the floor. Draw yourself back up to the hands, and then sit back onto the heels again. You can roll out through the wrists if you are on your wrists and your wrists are feeling sore. Mine are feeling pretty good because of those forearms. And again, that's a variant that you can do if you're finding your wrists are really sore, or if you have an old injury, carpal tunnel or something like that. Again, modify the practice so that it suits you. Now, the next pose that we're going through is side plank. So drawing ourselves forward, place your right forearm, and I'm going to start from the forearms, and I encourage you to do so as well. So starting with the right forearm, take your arm so that your forearm is parallel with the short edge of your mat in front of you. Draw yourself onto the outer edge of the right knee, and if you're finding kneeling on your knees is a bit hard, you can place a pillow underneath there. So we're starting with a knee down forearm plank. So this is sort of the base where we're going to start from. And you can have the left leg extended out here. If you're feeling a little bit like, I think I could build up from here, you can place the fingertips down to lift that right knee and extend that right foot so that it meets the left. Outside edge of the right foot is down, inside edge of the left foot is down, and then slowly release the hips down. Whew. Maybe noticing how your obliques, how that feels to engage really through the side body here. So moving into the second side, yes, I will show, yes, from the front. So placing that left forearm down, again, parallel with the short edge of the mat, shoulder is strong. So instead of collapsing into the shoulder when you lift up here, think about drawing that left shoulder back towards your feet and hips. That'll get longer through your neck, and that'll also help lift and engage through the shoulder here. So from your hips, you'll extend that left leg and begin lifting up onto that left knee, the outer edge of that left knee and that left arm. So your core is strong here. Again, we're not just sagging into the hips here. So find your glutes, help use that. Your core involves your hips as well. So squeeze your bum and engage the belly. Maybe you feel like you could extend that left foot out as well. And maybe you have the feet one in front of one another. And you feel that engagement. Try to lift, lift, lift the core again, trying not to sag. Lift, 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 lift. And then slowly release the hips down and draw yourself back through center. Noticing the difference, how that feels in your core. You might feel like, oh, that's plenty enough right there. You can also do this from the palms, directly from the palms in whatever variant that you're doing. Knowing that sometimes stacking the shoulder directly over the wrist puts a lot of pressure there. I'd prefer maybe if you even drew yourself back so that the hand is slightly in front of the shoulder. If you think about a table versus a stool, it can be a lot of pressure having that direct 90-degree angle with stacked over. So modify the way that you need to really suit your body, okay? So from these side planks, we're now going to take a variant of down dog, and we're working on three-legged dog. So set yourself up like you were going into tabletop pose. Hands are underneath the shoulders, and then step back into plank. So from plank pose, this is the distance between your feet and your hands that you want to start with. Begin shifting the hips up towards the sky as you push your chest back towards your thighs. Now, depending on how the leg length and arm length is, if you have really long arms or really long legs, you might need to change where your feet position is and slightly walk in either your feet, or maybe you need to walk slightly out, but bending your knees here, pushing hips up towards the sky. So the focus with three-legged dog is actually to open up the back a little bit here. We'll start with the right leg. So you're drawing the right leg up towards the sky. So you can see here, 3 legs, my hands and my left foot is still on the floor, and the third leg is lifting up towards the sky. And then you want to bend in this pose to open up through the chest. Well, not always, but this is what we're doing in this variant. So if you've never practiced this pose, you can release your knees down on the floor and sneak a peek up at me. So right leg is up towards the sky, and then you're bending in the hips so that you're taking the right knee up towards the ceiling and opening the hips up towards the right. But you want to square your chest down as best as you can. So draw the right shoulder back down towards the floor. And this combines both a twist and a hip opening as well. So point that knee up towards the sky. Try to draw that right heel in towards the right side of your bum. And then slowly release the right foot down to the mat, and then release your knees down to the mat. Take a moment, roll it through your wrists if you're feeling that. In this next variant, I'm actually going to take this three-legged dog from a puppy pose. And puppy pose is down dog, but on your forearms. So same idea of high plank versus low plank, being on your hands versus your forearms. You can do the same thing with down dog as well. So setting up, again, you can have hands underneath the shoulders, or maybe you're taking the elbows underneath the shoulders here. And then tuck your toes, lift your hips up towards the sky, bend your knees so that you have a bit of variant here, push your chest back towards your thighs, root into your right foot as you begin lifting the left leg up towards the sky. Now with this three-legged dog, try not to open the hips right away. This is a variant where we're first working on our glute strength. So spin the pinky toes of your left foot down towards the floor and try to lift that left heel up. Now bend the left knee, drawing the left foot in towards the left side of the bum. Now begin to open the hips up towards the left, spinning the hips open, but keeping the left shoulder reaching towards the floor. So opening up through the hips, try to lift the knee up towards the ceiling, and then slowly release the foot down to the floor, release the knees down to the floor, and draw yourself back out. You can roll out through the wrists, maybe shake out through the shoulders, depending on how you feel. And then we're drawing ourselves into a seated fold. So take your bum to the mat with your legs out in front of you. So you should be seated on your mat so that you have some space in front of you here. So first with Dandasana, so we're starting with staff pose. Take the feet and engage the legs. Draw the toes back towards the knees and try to straighten the legs. So you're thinking about backs of the knees into the floor. Feet are strong and engaged. Your hands draw alongside your body. Hands are by your hips. Whether or not they touch the floor, it's okay. If your hands don't quite reach, if you have shorter arms, you can place either book beside you, or you can engage without the use of the floor. So draw the shoulders back down your back, so slide them up, back and together, and then down your back. And then whether your hands are rooted into the floor or if they're hovering, you're thinking about reaching down. So we're strong and engaged through this pose. Find your hips, find your core, and squeeze everything into the midline. Push the arms down towards the earth or into the earth and engage through the legs. So we're so strong here. It looks like a really simple pose, but we're finding so much isometric contraction, so much still contraction here. And then slowly relax through the upper body, and we'll take a forward fold, hinging at the hips towards the feet, And then once you feel like you can't hinge anymore, and you may not get very far at all, and that's perfectly fine. If you already feel a stretch in this position, you can keep the arms behind you. The moment that you feel a stretch, that's where you want to pause. So depending on how tight your hamstrings are, maybe the idea of your legs being straight and your body folding forward at all is a lot, depending on where you are with your hamstring flexibility. So find where you are and meet yourself there. So you don't need to look exactly like me, and I don't need to look like the models that you can see touching their head to their toes. So really honor where you are in your body. As we fold here, the legs are still engaged, so we're still trying to draw the toes back towards the knees. You'll find that this really increases the stretch rather than pointing the toes. That's going to create not as long of a line through the whole backside of your body here. So with the toes drawing back towards the knees, you can see the heels as I shift here. The heels make the calf longer, which also will extend through the leg, making the hamstrings more stretched as well. Think about taking your tailbone back and away towards the back of your mat. So tilting your tailbone so that your body goes forward and your tailbone goes backwards. And then we'll slowly release ourselves out of this variant. And starting with actually a back bend. Let's do a little back bend here. So we're preparing for the back bend by first opening our side body. So with our right leg forward, take the sole of the left foot to the inside of the right thigh, and then slowly pivot and open slightly so that you're spacing slightly towards the left. So if you're looking forward, if your left leg was extended, you'd have almost like a pie shape out in front of you. And we'll start by opening up the groin and the left side body. So take your right elbow towards your right thigh. Maybe it's resting high on the right thigh. Maybe getting the elbow to your thigh doesn't suit you. You can take the hand to the inside of the thigh as well. So wherever you are, taking the arm to the inside of the thigh and twist yourself open towards the left. So you're facing the left side of the mat with your torso. Try to spin that left shoulder towards the spine so that if you looked, your right foot, your right shoulder, and then your left shoulder would be in one straight line on your mat. So if you're rolling forward here, roll that left shoulder back, find your core, squeeze. We're twisting here. You should feel that engagement through the core, through the abdomen, squeezing, opening up. And then eventually, once you have this twist part, we'll take the left arm up overhead, reaching over top of that right leg with the left hand, trying to create a side body stretch. So we're not necessarily focused on touching the hand towards the foot. We're focused on the twist as well as the side body open. So we're opening the left side body, so you should feel a stretch from that left hip up into that left shoulder. And then slowly draw yourself back through center. Place your left hand behind you, so about a foot away from your left hip. And we'll open into a side variant, opening up our right side body in a left side plank, okay? So with your legs in your hand as they are, begin lifting onto your left shin as well as your left palm into a variant of side plank. So lift the hips up towards the sky and reach the right arm overhead, reaching the right arm back towards the back of your mat. So now you feel a stretch through that entire right side of your body here. Push the hips up towards the sky, reach with the right hand, and then slowly draw yourself back down to the mat, and then back through center, setting up for the second side. So left foot is forward, right sole to the inside of that left thigh, and then pivot and slightly open towards the right. Again, your legs would be creating a pie shape in front of you and your torso is facing somewhat forward. So lift your hips and move yourself the way that you need to find that position here. Then start by taking the left hand to the inside of that left leg, and either the elbows coming down, or you can keep your palm on the floor. Use that leg as a little bit of leverage to help you twist towards the side. Again, find that core, find that strength activation to help twist you a little bit deeper here. Squeeze, 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 squeeze that right shoulder in towards the spine. So you can see the action from behind now if you sneak a peek at me. We're not just focusing on the hip opening. We're trying to focus on the hip opening plus the twist. So squeeze, 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 squeeze. So whether you're deep or whether you're a little bit high, the focus is on the twist and the side bend here. So now that we've twisted in this position, either using the arm or using the core strength, reach the right arm up towards the sky and then overhead so that it's in line with that left leg. So the chest, again, isn't closing down towards the floor. We're opening up so that that shoulder tries to stack right on top of the left shoulder. So from the floor, if you look straight up, we have the left thigh, then the left shoulder, and the right shoulder stacked right on top of it. Your right arm should be somewhat stacked over top of the left leg. And again, if you're finding this the flexibility through the side body, through the core here, it's a little bit difficult, that's okay. Honor where you are. You might not get into the position that I'm calling, but the activation is what we're looking for. So trying to activate towards this position. And then slowly releasing yourself out. Take your right hand behind your right hip, about a foot away from the hip here. Root into that right hand, root into the right shin. Begin lifting yourself onto your left shin, your right shin in your right hand, lifting the hips up towards the sky. Take the left arm up overhead, reaching towards the back of your mat with the left hand, creating a side bend, as well as strengthening through that right shoulder, as well as strengthening through the hips and the core, building strength and flexibility at the same time. And then slowly releasing the hips down towards the floor and taking that right leg out in front of you once again. So noticing that variant of side plank where you were opening up the side body here. So we'll create a little bit more core strengthening. So from a seated position, placing the soles of your feet on the mat in front of you, creating almost a 90-degree angle with the hips and with the thighs. Now we're doing a bit of glute work and we're going to be on the tailbone. If you have an injury or something, a towel or a pillow underneath your bum could be a really nice thing for you here. So placing the hands behind the thighs, we're finding our core in a modified boat pose. So draw the belly button in towards the spine. Again, that tickle action, that engagement for embrace. So finding that squeeze through the core. And then holding onto the legs, begin letting the body sink back towards the floor. We're not rounding through the spine, so don't think lower back trying to touch the floor right now. Think about if you were leaning back and you were trying to touch your head and your shoulders back towards the mat. So find the core, find that strength, and think about keeping the whole spine straight from the head down to the tailbone. So the moment you feel your core want to engage and you feel your core activate, that's where you're going to pause. So you're going to pause where you feel that strong activation, and maybe, if it feels available to you, you release the thighs. If you do that and it feels really wobbly and you feel so much core activation, you can keep hold of the thighs. It's perfectly fine. You might want to reach the arms in front of you, but if releasing the thighs causes you to round the spine, then I ask and I really encourage you to keep hold of the spine. So finding the belly, draw the belly button in towards the spine. Maybe the arms are reaching out in front of you, and maybe you're trying to straighten one leg, trying to lift one foot up off the floor. Or maybe you don't straighten it, maybe you take it to a tabletop position so that the shin is parallel with the floor. If you feel a lot of strong activation, and why don't we all actually come out of this? Take the legs in front of you. We'll take reverse plank because doing a lot of boat pose, you might feel strong activation and cramping in your hip flexors, totally normal. So feet are out in front of you, heels are down on the floor, palms draw behind the body with the fingertips facing the bum. Squeeze the shoulders back and together so that you open up the chest and you get wider through the chest. And then lift with your hips. So find your belly right now, suck the belly button in towards the spine, squeeze your bum and begin lifting with the hips, trying to lift the hips away from the floor. So you might not lift very high. You might find that your shoulders want to sneak forward. Keep squeezing those shoulders back together and then slowly relax it down. Hopefully that took away some of that activation, some of that cramping you might feel in your hip flexors. And then again, boat pose, drawing the soles of the feet to the mat, 90-degree angle with the knees through the shins and through the thighs, hands behind the thighs. Slowly begin hinging backwards. Again, we're not rolling backwards. We're keeping the pelvis and the spine all moving as one unit. So we're not just moving the pelvis and tilting here, and we're not just moving the spine in a weird position. So we have a nice strong core, so engage here and slowly hinge backwards, holding onto the thighs, and then maybe releasing the hands, maybe floating one shin so that it's parallel with the floor. Maybe you do both, but if you do both and you round the spine, then again, I ask one at a time. So you want to have virtually no movement through the hips and the pelvis when you do this. So you're strong, you're engaged, you're maybe lifting one leg, maybe lifting the other, or maybe trying to straighten one leg and straighten the other. If you try to do this and you feel that activation in other areas, it's probably a combination of strength and flexibility being a little bit not caught up with where your mind wants to go. And that's perfectly fine. So slowly releasing ourselves out of this, we'll let the knees separate from one another, taking the heels together and the toes are apart, creating a diamond shaped with the legs. This can help release through those hip flexors once again, maybe hinging the body forward, maybe the hands are behind you and you're in this position. You should feel a bit of stretch through the outer legs as well as through the hips here, letting the body draw forward. And then slowly releasing back up through center. We'll keep the left leg in front of us, so the left heel is on the floor, and draw the right sole to the mat, sliding that right heel towards your bum. So it might not look like mine, depending on the flexibility of your leg and your hip and your knee. And if your leg is a little bit more forward, that's okay. Holding onto that shin, wherever you are, lifting up through the chest, getting nice and tall. Keep hold with the left hand and take your right hand behind you. So use your right hand to help lift and push the chest forward towards that thigh. And then wrap your left forearm around your right leg, like you're trying to hug it. If you can take that inner left elbow to that right leg, and we'll twist towards the right. So again, using your core, using your arms for a bit of leverage to help squeeze and get you a little bit deeper here. So we're starting with this first variant of the twist. So notice if your your right knee is collapsing towards your left thigh. We're rooting into the mat with our right foot and trying to keep that right knee facing straight up towards the ceiling. Try not to collapse it in, try not to collapse it out, squeezing into our twist and slowly unwinding here. So to take this twist a little bit deeper, we'll take the right foot up and over to the outside of the left thigh. So we were on the inside to start, now up and over to the left. And if you find that, oh, okay, nope, this is not available, you can stick with that first variant of the twist. We're going to do 3 twists, each getting a little bit deeper. So that right foot to the outside of the left thigh, knowing that if you've had a hip replacement, this action might actually be contraindicated. So please make sure, follow your doctor's orders if there's ever anything that's been told to you like, hey, these are certain movements that you shouldn't be doing. So lift up through the chest, and again, you can wrap that left forearm around that right leg, right hand behind you to twist a little bit deeper. If you're feeling like, I could maybe go a bit deeper, you can take that left elbow to the outside of that right leg. That can help to twist you a little bit deeper here. But know that when you do this, you're trying to utilize a little bit more arm strength, and that might be muscling your way through a twist. So again, the focus is actually engaging the core to get the twist deep, and then you're using the arms to assist and just bump it a little bit further. So slowly unwinding here. Now, keeping that right foot to the outside of the left thigh, if that's where it was, we'll bend the left leg, so drawing that left foot towards the right side of our bum. So I'm gonna spin. Whoop. So your hips might not hit the floor. If you're in a really awkward position and it feels difficult even just being here, again, going back to the variant that suits your body today, okay? So these are just things that you may want to try to encourage opening if you're not getting flexibility with the poses that I'm first calling. So if you're past those points and you're feeling not a lot of flexibility or changes, knowing that these are things that you can build upon to feel stretch in other areas. So lifting up through the chest, again, right hand comes behind us, that left forearm can wrap around that right thigh, or you can take that left elbow to the outside of the right thigh, lift the chest up, and then squeeze that right shoulder in towards the spine, looking over the right shoulder. Again, the belly is strong and engaged here. Can you remove your arms and keep the depth of your twist? If you think, no, I can't. If you try to remove your arms and you spin back towards the center, then again, focus on squeezing the core to help actually get your twist a little bit deeper. And then slowly we'll unwind from this position and we'll set up the 3 twists on the second side. But first, take the legs, both of them, out in front of you and pause. Notice the difference between your 2 legs, between your hips, between your spine, between your core. Check in with your body. Can you feel that one side feels differently than the other? And taking that second to really check in and be present with how you're feeling today. So take the left sole towards the mat on the inside of the right leg. So again, I'm going to be different than you because I'm mirrored, my left, your right. So draw that left heel in towards the pubic bone. If you have a lot of knee pain when you're doing this, it might be because the knee is in a twisted position when you compress. So keep the leg straight as you draw that heel in towards the bum. And then again, you can hold on to that right or the left leg with the right hand. Take the left hand behind you, wrap your right forearm around that left thigh. Inhale, lift up, and then exhale, twist, look over your left shoulder. So using your core to help twist you a little bit deeper. Breathing as you're in the twist. Maybe noticing with your inhale as you expand, you feel a lot of pressure, and then exhale, you might find that on your exhales you can get a little bit deeper. Inhaling, and then exhaling, slowly unwind here. Again, maybe you're staying with this variant, or maybe you're taking that left foot up and over the right leg. So inhaling, lifting up nice and tall, wrapping the right forearm around that left leg, left hand behind you, lift up, and exhale, twist, look over the left shoulder. So something I haven't mentioned yet is that your right foot, even though it's extended out in front of you, it's strong, it's engaged. I forgot about it, so I'll probably watch this video back and be like, yep. So trying to draw those right toes back towards the shin, twisting, 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 finding the engagement here. And then exhale, slowly unwinding. Again, maybe you're staying in that variant, or maybe you're drawing that right foot, bending through the right leg, and taking the right foot to the outside of that left hip, orienting yourself so that you can sit both hip bones down on the floor. If you find it really hard to sit both hip bones down on the floor, you can take the variant we just did with the leg extended, or maybe you're taking the first variant, or maybe we go way back to the beginning of class and you think, nope, and you're doing all of this from your back and you're twisting while you're reclined. That's perfectly fine. So take your left hand behind you. You can either wrap around the thigh, or maybe you're taking the right elbow to the outside of the left leg. Inhale, lift up nice and tall, and then exhale, twist. Again, squeeze, use your core. Think about, could I remove my arms and keep the twist? Maybe you can keep it in the lower spine, but the upper spine, you can't keep it quite as deep. So twist, 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 twist. Looking over that left shoulder. And then slowly unwinding, drawing yourself back through center. Again, extend the legs out in front of you and take a moment and pause. Now notice the difference between the two sides. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more even after working through both sides. And we'll take one more relaxing variant for the hips here, taking the soles of the feet together, drawing the heels towards the pubic bone. So the first shape that we did, we were purposely in a triangle. So this one, we're trying to draw the heels close and the soles of the feet together. But for some people, depending on their hip tightness, you still might look like the triangle, and that's perfectly okay. So again, honor where you are today. Inhale, lift the chest, and then exhale, forward fold. And again, we're not thinking about, let's reach the crown or the forehead and the face and the nose towards the floor. That's really going to put a lot of stress on the neck. So keeping the head in alignment with the spine as you fold. Even if you begin to round here, we're not reaching forward with the chin, with the head. So keep the head back. That'll help take pressure away from the neck and shoulders. Inhaling. And then exhaling, slowly drawing yourself back up through center, taking a nice easy seat, and check in with your body. See how you feel. Maybe write some notes on how you felt after this practice so that you can check back tomorrow and see if you've done too much, whether it's twisting or whatever, and hopefully modify so that each day you feel a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. Sometimes you might feel muscle soreness, like, oh, I worked that out, and those muscles feel sore because they're building strength. But if you have an injury, it's hard to know, is this because I'm building strength, or is this because I'm re-aggravating an injury? And the only way to do that is to check in with how you feel. Now, I can't tell you how you feel. You're the only one that can tell me how you feel. So check in with yourself, see how you feel, and honor any limitations that your body might be presenting today, letting go of attachments of what you used to do and what you think you should do, and actually be present here today. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to the next class with you.